My wife betrayed me. My daughter told me who she saw with Mom while Elle wasn't home. Sitting at my desk, I found myself reminiscing about the 25 years since my spouse and I got married. I started reflecting on our honeymoon and those precious moments that still brighten my life. Thinking about that time in the Caribbean with my partner fills me with a mix of nostalgia and gratitude. It was a magical chapter I'll always cherish. From the moment we arrived, it felt like we had stepped into a paradise, escaping the daily grind and discovering a serene peace that's hard to describe. Strolling along the beach with the sand between our toes and the waves whispering their secrets, we were enveloped in beauty. The air was heavy with the sweet scent of frangipani, a constant reminder of the love and tranquility that surrounded us. But it wasn't just the breathtaking scenery that made our honeymoon unforgettable. It was the experiences we shared. Trekking through lush jungles and uncovering hidden waterfalls felt like discovering Mother Nature's treasures together. We marveled at the sheer beauty and power of our surroundings. Our clifftop retreat in Barbados offered views that seemed to stretch on forever. Each sunset splashed the sky with vibrant hues, and as we held each other close, we were overcome with love and devotion. Evenings felt like a romantic symphony, with candlelit dinners on the beach under a star-studded sky, savoring fresh seafood and local delicacies. What truly made it magical was the love that sparkled in my spouse's eyes. The Caribbean wasn't just a destination, it became the heart of our love story, filled with moments and dreams we shared. Reflecting on our honeymoon reminds me of the profound beauty and depth of our relationship. It rekindled our love and strengthened our bond, providing us with moments of pure joy and serenity. I hold these memories dear, feeling immense gratitude as I look back on that lover's paradise 25 years later. Lost in thought, my secretary walked in and found me gazing out the window. "What's got you so happy lately? Did you win the lottery?" she teased. It dawned on me that I had been grinning and feeling content for 2 weeks straight. I mentioned that my spouse had been particularly loving and attentive, making me feel appreciated and cherished again. After so many years, it felt like a second honeymoon, and I was eager to spend more time with my partner, acting like a smitten teenager. I didn't want this newfound happiness to end. While my spouse and I have a solid marriage, 25 years can turn excitement into routine. Yet my partner had been unusually affectionate, seeking intimacy almost every night and reviving parts of our relationship we hadn't explored in years. I never suspected their affections had any motive beyond rekindling our marriage. I decided to surprise my spouse with a romantic evening. Leaving work early with a smile, I picked up 24 roses, a favorite wine, and chocolate-covered strawberries. Tonight, I plan to show my love and surprise my partner with a 7-night cruise to celebrate our enduring love. Entering the house through the garage, I went up the kitchen steps. Instead of my spouse, I found our 24-year-old child sitting at the table. I smiled, kissed her forehead, and asked, "Hey, sweetie, where's your mom?" 2 weeks earlier, my child had a heart-to-heart with their mother. "I love your dad so much, and I'm terrified that if I go through with this, I'll hurt him. Mom, Dad loves you. And hell understand. You said yourself you need something more than what you've had before, and Dad isn't getting any younger. Hell understand your needs and let you have this one-time pleasure. I can't face your dad and tell him I'm going on a date with another man. It's impossible. Then let me handle it. The man will be waiting for you at the restaurant at 7:00 p.m., and you'll be ready to leave by 6:00 when Dad gets home. I'll explain everything to him, and you'll get the experience you crave." "Honey, I agreed to this date, but I have serious doubts. This feels so wrong. How can I look your father in the eye for the next 2 weeks knowing I've agreed to go out with another man? Don't tell him anything. Show him how much you love him during these 2 weeks. Let him know he has nothing to worry about. When I explain everything, he'll understand. It's not about love, just new friendships and a bit of fun. Reach out to him, rock his world, and when I explain it that evening, he'll welcome you back with open arms. Dad loves you and is willing to do anything for you. He's always given you what you wanted, showing his love. Maybe you're right. It's just one date, and it doesn't mean I'm leaving Dad for another man. Having a fun night out 25 years later shouldn't be a problem. I'll show Dad how wonderful he is and how much I love him every night until date night. Then, when I get back, I'll try to make him the happiest man in the world. Mom, Just make him feel loved and appreciated. He's a great guy, and he'll give you this one-of-a-kind experience. Now I have to get home and cook dinner for my partner. Thanks, sweetie. Say hi to your partner. When will you two give us grandchildren? Soon. We've already talked about it and plan to start working on it in a few months, my child said before heading home. My spouse found themselves alone in the art studio I had built for them behind our house, facing their latest project. Lately, they struggled with creativity, burdened by thoughts of being with another person. However, our child's advice echoed in their mind, and suddenly their brushes danced on the canvas, bringing vibrant colors and emotive landscapes to life. Confident they were doing right by themselves, my spouse sat in solitude, feeling a wave of peace wash over their guilt. My partner might be upset initially, but I believe I can make them see I truly adore them, and they've been an exceptional spouse and parent. I'll be the best partner and show them my love, they thought. That evening, as part of their plan to shower me with affection, my spouse put on my favorite nightgown after their shower, styled their hair, and applied makeup. Greeting me as I returned home, my partner, dressed in the nightgown and heels, led me to the bedroom where they undressed me and surprised me with a long-neglected act of passion. They pleased me in ways I hadn't experienced in years. My smile filled my spouse with warmth and happiness, making them wonder why they hadn't done this sooner. This is the best welcome home I've had in ages. What's the occasion? Honey, I just wanted to remind you how special you are and how much I love you. Did you enjoy it? They asked. I did. It's been so long that I forgot how much I missed it, I replied. Feeling pleased, they pulled me onto the bed and we shared passionate kisses for several minutes. It was the most fulfilling intimacy we had experienced in years, causing my spouse to rethink their plans with the other person. Over the next few weeks, our connection deepened. I became a happier person, constantly smiling, laughing, and showing affection. My spouse found themselves in a better place than they had been in a long time and began to reconsider their planned date night. They even discussed the positive changes with our child, questioning if they still needed to go through with their original plans. Mom, this is wonderful, but don't cancel just yet. Let's see how the next 2 weeks go. Enjoy each other and see where it leads. You don't need to cancel now. We can reassess in 2 weeks. You can always cancel last minute if needed. But remember, this chance might not come again. All right, maybe you're right. Remind me about the other person's situation. I know he's your friend's father, but I need more details. Sure, Mom. When his spouse was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, he took time off work to care for her until she passed. She was the love of his life, and after her death, he was devastated. He became withdrawn and focused only on work. When Anna and I suggested he start dating, he admitted he didn't know how to be with anyone else. Hearing his story made me realize I might have a solution for both of you. My child went on to explain the other person's deep admiration for their mother and his desire for companionship. They described their conversation and his eagerness to meet my spouse. Mom, he thinks you're wonderful and would love to spend time with you. I'll give him your number and you two can arrange to meet. He's about 10 years younger than you and I know you'll get along well. He just needs someone to talk to and befriend, and I believe you can help each other. The next day, the man called my spouse, and after a delightful conversation, he invited them to spend time with him. When he complimented their photo and expressed how much he looked forward to their meeting, my partner felt a surge of excitement. The thrill of doing something new and his flattering words gave them butterflies. They agreed to meet him and said they were looking forward to it. He offered to pick them up, but they preferred to meet him at the restaurant. They texted each other daily, their exchanges becoming more playful as the meeting approached. By the time the day arrived, my spouse's text messages would not have passed the simplest test of loyalty. They were constantly excited, imagining what lay ahead. Despite this, they tried not to neglect me and put more effort into our intimate moments every evening. Now, I walked around with a grin on my face, and my spouse walked around with a newfound desire. This new level of connection exceeded their wildest dreams. I adored my child and thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. I was so proud of the woman she had become. I wished I had spent more time with her as she grew up. But I worked hard to provide a good life and tried to be there for her as much as possible. I smiled when I saw her, but felt a bit surprised. Sweetheart, what are you doing here and where's your mom? I asked as I set down the 24 roses, a bottle of wine, and a box of chocolates. I've got a special surprise for your mom tonight and can't wait to see her, I said, reaching into my jacket pocket to pull out travel plans and tickets for a 7-day cruise. I'm taking your mom away on a 7-day cruise, and I can't wait to see the look on her face when she finds out. Don't say anything when she gets home. I want to surprise her. Hearing her call me Daddy always made me smile, reminding me of when she was a little girl sitting on my lap. But something seemed off. Tears welled in her eyes, and she was out of breath, clearly worried about what she had to tell me. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. Concern flashed across my face. "What's wrong? Is something the matter with Mom?" "No, Mom's fine. Please sit down and let me explain," she replied. After a pause, she spoke again. "Dad, you know how much Mom loves you, and she told me how great things have been between you two lately. Yes, and I love her too. That's why I want to show her how much she means to me." Seeing her tears, I realized her news wasn't what I expected. "I'm really sorry, Daddy, but Mom went out with another man." I sat in stunned silence, trying to process her words. Her tears flowed as anger ignited within me. "Sweetie, what are you saying? Where's your mom?" I demanded, my voice rising in frustration. "Mom loves you very much, Daddy, and I hope you won't take this the wrong way, but Mom went out with another man and won't be back until tomorrow. She couldn't tell you herself, so I volunteered to break it to you because she didn't want to hurt you. It's just one night and she'll be back tomorrow. Is this some kind of joke? I can't believe this. Your mother would never betray me like this. We were so close and loving. This can't be real. Dad, she loves you. She just needed something different in her life at least once after 25 years of marriage. Nothing's changing between you two except she might love you even more for understanding." I stared at my daughter. "Why are you involved in this? Your mom shouldn't have dragged you into it, and I should be talking to her, not you. How did she get you into all this? Dad, Mom and I have always been close, and we share everything. She said things had slowed down between you two, and she no longer felt the spark. My friend's dad lost his wife a few years ago, and he also needed someone to connect with." "Well, I introduced them," she admitted quietly. I stood up abruptly, knocking over my chair. "Are you serious? You set your mom up on a date with another man? Is that what you're telling me?" Lowering her head, my daughter remained silent. Meanwhile, I paced back and forth in the kitchen, trying to comprehend the situation. "Damn it, answer me!" I yelled, towering over her. "Did you arrange this? Is my wife, your mother, on a date with your friend's dad because of you?" At my angry outburst, my daughter flinched. "I'm really sorry, Dad. Yes, I did. It sounds bad when you put it like that, but I was trying to help a friend." "Help a friend? What about me? What about our family? How could you do this?" I demanded, my voice rising in anger. "Where is she now? And why did you say she won't be back until tomorrow? They went to a restaurant. I don't know which one. Then they're spending the night together. Just this once. She'll be back tomorrow. Dad, she loves you. She's been telling me for the past 2 weeks how much she loves you and doesn't want you to be hurt. It's just one night. She thought you'd understand and give her this one chance. So is that it? I thought her newfound affection over the last 2 weeks was genuine. But now you're saying it was just her way of easing her guilt? Well, this isn't going to end well, I assure you." Tears streamed down my daughter's face. "Dad, it's not like that. She never pretended or tried to hurt you. She wanted to show you how much she loves you. Can't you give her one night? You know she loves you and can't imagine life without you. She talked about looking forward to your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. We plan to have kids and we need you both. Ironic, isn't it? That dream ended when she agreed to go out with someone else. Who is this guy? He's my friend Anna's dad. He's really nice and I think you'd like him." "Oh, great. So I'm supposed to be friends with the guy who's dating my wife? Maybe we can be drinking buddies, and I can let him borrow your mom on weekends. Is that your plan for me?" My daughter slumped into her chair, realizing the magnitude of her mistake. My words hit her hard, shaking her to her core. After pacing the room, I managed to regain some control. Turning to my daughter, my voice was filled with venom, my pain and anguish clear. "Listen carefully. Leave now. I need time to process what you and your mother have done to me. I don't want to see or hear from you. No calls, no messages. Your betrayal is unforgivable. You are dead to me. Understand? I'm no longer your father and you're no longer my daughter. Get out of my house and never speak to me again." My daughter wept openly, her head in her hands. "Dad, please don't say that. I love you and want to stay here tonight. Mom and I planned for me to stay with you. We don't want you to be alone. The disrespect you've shown makes me question if you ever truly respected or loved me as your father. You're just like your mother. I worked tirelessly to provide for you both, and this is the thanks I get? Turns out I'm just a meal ticket, never earning respect from either of you." Amid tears and sobs, she pleaded, "Dad, I love you. Please reconsider. Let Mom explain everything tomorrow. You've had 25 wonderful years together, and I know you love her. Give her this one thing, and she won't leave you. She can have whatever she wants, but she'll never have me again. Forgiveness is beyond me. Everyone involved will face consequences, including the man who took my wife. Now go. You've shown your true colors. You still have your mother. Nothing changes for you. You're no longer my daughter. Leave." With tears streaming down her face, she fled the house in agony, experiencing a pain she had never known. She never imagined her father's reaction would be so severe. Had he truly disowned her? For the first time, she realized she might have crossed a line in helping her mom with this plan. She knew he loved them both, but his fury was undeniable, and she prayed for his forgiveness. Right after my daughter left, I dialed my spouse's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I left multiple messages pleading for them to call back and come home. When my calls went unanswered, even after a few drinks, I resorted to texting the same plea. Still, no response. By 2 a.m., it dawned on me they weren't coming back or answering my calls. Exhausted from self-pity, I stared blankly at the TV, bombarded with more bleak news. My world had turned into a nightmare. Reflecting on our 25-year marriage, the highs, the lows, the milestones, and the once frequent intimacy now replaced by routine, I felt a deep sense of loss. Though our sex life had become predictable, there were no complaints post-coitus. We always embraced, drifting off in each other's arms. Daily we exchanged "I love you" and rarely argued, yet now it seemed those words held little significance. Peering out at the art studio I built for my spouse, a sanctuary where they poured their creativity for 2 decades, I realized it held more importance to them than I did. Though proud of their achievements, I felt sidelined, but their happiness mattered most to me. The talk with my daughter hit me like a ton of bricks. Learning my spouse wanted to be with another person blindsided me no warning at all. Despite years of hard work to support my family, I failed to notice they weren't happy with our marriage. It stung to know they shared this with our child instead of talking to me, fueling my anger and humiliation. Reflecting on my life, home, and future, I remembered the house and property I inherited from my grandfather, solely in my name before our marriage with no mortgage. It made me think. Fueled by alcohol and fury, I plotted ways to hurt my spouse like they hurt me. Staring out at their studio, a surge of strength washed over me, perhaps from alcohol or the pain of betrayal. With renewed vigor, I sprang into action. I made countless trips to our bedroom, gathering all of their belongings and relocating them to the studio: shoes, clothes, jewelry, all piled in the center. I then gathered photo albums, including our wedding pictures, placing them on top of the heap. Remembering items in the attic, I went to retrieve them. I retrieved their wedding dress, baby clothes, and more, adding to the growing pile. It amazed me how much they had accumulated over the years. I took down their pictures from the walls and tossed them onto the heap sculptures, sketches, all their cherished possessions now part of the ever-expanding mound. I felt tense but decided to wait, giving them a chance to return or respond to my calls and messages. If I didn't hear back, I'd go through with my plan. I double-checked the house, making sure everything important to them was in the studio. I grabbed a 20-liter gasoline can from the garage and headed to the studio, preparing. In the meantime, I went online, canceled our joint credit cards, transferred money to my account, withdrew cash from the safe, and packed a few suitcases, loading them into my truck. I planned to stay away until the lawyer sorted things out. Giving them another 5 minutes to return, with my last hope fading, I poured gasoline over the pile and along the studio walls. After a deep breath and brief hesitation, I lit a match, igniting their belongings. The fire spread fast, visible from the street. Before I could escape, their world was engulfed in flames. Driving along the highway, a profound realization hit me, accentuated by my distraught state. Overwhelmed by sorrow, tears streamed down my face. It dawned on me that my once happy marriage had met the same fate as the studio consumed by flames. Unexpectedly, the fire spread to the back porch, endangering the house. Thankfully, firefighters arrived quickly, saving the house from complete destruction. However, it suffered significant smoke damage and would need extensive repairs before it could be lived in again. Meanwhile, I checked into a motel 60 miles away from the charred remnants of my marriage, paying in cash to avoid detection. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I turned off my phone and collapsed into bed, falling into a deep sleep until noon. Upon waking, I found dozens of missed calls and texts from my child, spouse, and the sheriff. My spouse's story. After exiting the Uber, they met the other man at the restaurant, feeling both nervous and excited. The handsome man waiting for them at the reception desk smiled warmly. He took in their little black dress, sheer tights, and matching high heels with appreciation. His eyes lingered on their neckline, and they felt a spark of confidence. Earlier in the day, they had spent hours at the salon, making sure their hair and makeup were perfect. They wanted this occasion to be thrilling, unforgettable, and flawless. Seeing his reaction made them feel more assured. They greeted him with a gentle kiss, and they headed to the bar. Sitting on bar stools when they stood up, they noticed his gaze trailing their nylon-covered legs. They exchanged smiles as he ordered their drinks. My spouse decided to switch off their phone to avoid interruptions, aware that this night was a one-time event and determined to savor every moment. There was undeniable chemistry between them. They conversed like old friends, and my partner found themselves touching his arm and flirting in ways they seldom did with anyone, including me. They were set on embracing their inner confidence and enjoying the experience. After finishing their second drink, the hostess informed them that their table was ready and escorted them to their seats. The dinner was delightful, and they enjoyed their conversation and time together. When he asked if they still wanted to spend the night with him, they teasingly placed their foot between his legs. His smile widened, and he suggested they leave. Holding hands, he led them to his pre-booked hotel room. As the elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, the reality of what they were about to do hit my spouse, and fleeting thoughts of me crossed their mind. Sensing their hesitation, the man pulled them close, giving them a tender, reassuring kiss. In that moment, all thoughts of their spouse and marriage faded away. Tonight, they were his, ready to embrace and revel in this experience. "No, I wasn't here last night, and I have no idea what happened," they replied, trying to steady their voice. "Are you her partner?" he asked, turning to the man. "No, just a friend," the man said, feeling embarrassed. They could sense the sergeant's suspicion. "Where is your spouse?" "I don't know. They're not answering their phone," they said, their voice trembling. "And where were you last night?" he inquired. "I was with this friend at a hotel," they admitted, realizing how damning this sounded. "Are you and your spouse separated?" the sergeant continued. "No, we're not separated. We were happily married," they stammered, realizing how foolish they sounded after admitting to spending the night with another person. "Do you know where they might be now?" the sergeant pressed. "No, I really don't. They're not responding to any calls," they said, feeling increasingly desperate. "We need to speak with them." "When you reach them, please give them my number," the sergeant said, handing them his business card. They were overwhelmed with a mix of anger and fear at the loss of their studio and all their work, and fear of my reaction and what this meant for our marriage. They needed to find me and talk to me. They called our child. "Do you know where your father is?" "No, Mom. I haven't heard from him since last night. Why didn't you stay with him like we planned?" "He threw me out, Mom. He said I was no longer his daughter," she replied, her voice breaking. Hearing those words sent a chill through their body. Hearing this from me was unimaginable. Upon entering the house, they noticed the smoke damage on the walls and the foul odor lingering in the air. Living here was impossible in its current state. As they moved through the house, they decided to gather clothes and personal items for a few days. However, when they entered the bedroom, they were shocked to find everything gone. Panic surged through them as they realized that all their clothes, shoes, and personal belongings were missing. They checked their nightstand for their wedding rings, only to find them absent. Why had they left their rings behind? If I saw them, I might think they had abandoned me and our marriage. How foolish and selfish of them. In a state of panic, they frantically searched every room, only to find everything of theirs was gone. A dreadful thought crossed their mind. Had I truly destroyed everything? Was there nothing left? Rushing out of the house, they returned to the studio to examine the remnants. Among the debris, they spotted picture frames and partially destroyed clothing. It was clear I had not just accepted their absence, but had obliterated everything important to them, cutting them out of my life. They called our child in tears, recounting what had happened and expressing their need for a place to stay. The man quickly offered them a place to stay, but he was the last person they wanted to see. Politely, they declined, explaining that they needed to be alone and asked him to leave. Hurt by their abruptness, he left, leaving them to regret their actions and the person they had spent the night with. Though they knew they were at fault, they couldn't help but blame him for their selfish betrayal, even though the true blame lay with them. "I think I've lost your father," they said, sobbing. "Mom, don't say that. Dad loves you. Honey, he burned everything, my clothes, paintings, and studio, everything. He left me with nothing, not even a place to live. He's ignoring my calls. I've hurt him the most, and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I should have talked to him instead of going on that date. We could have worked things out, but my selfishness drove him away. If I were him, I wouldn't take me back. What do I do now? I have no home, no clothes. Mom, don't blame yourself. I share some of the blame, too. You can stay with us until your house is repaired." Tears streamed down their face as they realized the full extent of the damage they had caused. "We'll get you new clothes this afternoon and make sure you're settled by evening. It's not just clothes. All my artworks, paintings, and sculptures are gone. 25 years of marriage and 2 decades of my artistic creations all destroyed. I feel utterly alone. I have nothing left." They sobbed openly, drawing glances from the neighbors. "Oh God, your father is calling." "I'll call you back," they said, fumbling to answer the call, their hands shaking as they nearly dropped the phone, finally managing to connect. "Is that you? Hi, how are you? Where are you? Please come home. We need to talk." "No, I know everything from our child. Yes, your child, not mine. You both are dead to me, and this might be our final conversation. Please don't say that. I love you. You should know this. The studio is gone. Did you do this? It wasn't me. You did this with your deceit and betrayal. When I saw your wedding rings discarded and knew you were with another person in my heart, you died. Your actions are unforgivable, and our child's involvement is beyond comprehension. We're finished. I'll meet with lawyers on Monday to start the divorce proceedings. Please, can't we talk? Talk and resolve this? You can't just discard our 25 years together. We are talking, and I'm not the one who discarded our 25 years. You did with your planned betrayal and deceit. There's no person on this earth who could accept or forgive such treachery. This is our last conversation. You can reach me through my attorney's details, which will come with the divorce papers. Goodbye. No, wait. But I was gone. Their world had crumbled. Our child arrived just as they ended the call with me. We embraced each other, crying over our loss. We realized we couldn't stay in the wreckage of my home while the fire and police conducted their investigation, so we headed to my child's house. Upon arrival, she briefed her partner on everything, shocking them with the details. They tried to explain it all, but when their partner discovered they had arranged a date for their friend's father with their own parent, they were appalled and furious. You set up a date for your mom with another man, knowing Dad would be left alone? How could you not realize he'd never accept that? What kind of partner lets their spouse go on a date with someone else? Is this what you plan to do when we're older? Betray me like Mom did to Dad? He was a good man, and you and Mom were his whole world. What have you done? You've ruined a good person and pushed them to do unimaginable things. I can't believe you'd be so thoughtless. I need to think about our future. Right now, having kids with you is on hold until I figure out where you stand." His anger shocked her. She was surprised by his lack of understanding of her mother's situation. It was just one date after 25 years of marriage, for heaven's sake. Later, she realized the real issue was the end of her parents' marriage, her father's loss, and her mother's shattered happiness. Soon, they'd all face the consequences of her actions. 5 long days later, I returned home to assess the damage. I decided against filing an insurance claim to avoid more potential costs. In my meeting with the lawyer, I made it clear the house was mine and not up for debate. My spouse could have half our savings, but no alimony. If they resisted, I'd sue for adultery, exposing their affair with our daughter's friend's father. Divorce papers were already in motion. I also sought advice on criminal arson charges, but learned that without an insurance claim, it likely wouldn't proceed unless I made a false report. A neighbor who knew our child called her when she saw me return home. My child hurried over. I was checking the damage and figuring out what repairs the house needed when I heard the front door open. "Dad? Dad, where are you?" My daughter's voice echoed through the house. I stayed silent, focused on assessing the damage. Looking out the window at the pile of ashes that was once my spouse's studio, I couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. My child found me in one of the bedrooms and rushed over, wrapping me in a hug. "Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you. I can't forgive either of you. I already said not to talk to me again. Please let me go and leave me alone. You say you're my daughter and that I must forgive you. Listen, you're no longer my daughter, just a deceitful person who broke my heart. Now leave me alone. Dad, Mom needs you. She's living with us and misses you terribly. She cries all the time and wants to apologize for her mistake. Can you come to our house and see her?" "Never. When she went on that date and stayed with another man, our marriage ended. She even left her wedding rings behind, sealing the end of our marriage. It's done and I won't speak to her again. Both of you can reach me through my lawyer. I'll get a new phone and number today. But for now, you should go and be with your cheating parent. Are you really willing to throw away 25 years of happiness with Mom? No, not me. Your parent threw away those 25 years as soon as they took off their rings and went to their lover. It was you and your parent who destroyed my 25 years of happiness, and for that, you'll never forgive or forget. Now get out of my house." For the second time, my child ran out of their childhood home in tears. My words declaring she was no longer my daughter were devastating. Even years of therapy couldn't erase the pain of my words. The following day, my spouse received the divorce papers and realized their affair had ended our marriage. They tried to reason with me, went to counseling, and attempted to speak with me, but all efforts were in vain. I had cut off contact with them and our child. Their partner eventually reached out to me, expressing anger and disappointment over their actions. Their partner reconsidered having children due to my child's betrayal, and they entered couples counseling to save their marriage. My spouse had hoped to return home after I rebuilt it, but the divorce made it clear that the house was mine. They received half our savings and $2,500 monthly in alimony for 10 years. Though I initially refused to pay, I eventually complied with the court order. Now they had to find work after 25 years of relying on me. They moved from our child's place to a small apartment near the city center and started working at an art gallery to get by. My spouse's artistic freedom was suddenly at risk. No longer could they spend hours in my beautiful studio or enjoy the lake view from the big windows I had gifted them. Work now consumed them, leaving little time to reclaim their old life. All their free time vanished, along with the luxury and marital bliss all for one reckless night with another man. They would never have enough tears to erase the hurt caused by that one mistake. I, their ex-partner, would never speak to them again. Hearing that I had disowned our daughter shattered her heart, and she sank into depression over our split. To save her own marriage now falling apart, she sought help from a therapist. Months later, the house was repaired. I kept up with court-ordered payments and then sold the house. After the sale, my spouse tried to reconcile, only to find a young couple at the door. "Hello, can we help you?" the woman asked. "I'm looking for the previous owner. Are they here?" "No, they sold us this house and moved on. They were very kind. Are you their ex-partner?" "Yes, that's me. Did they leave anything for me?" "They did." "They left an envelope for you," the woman said, handing it over. "Thank you. Enjoy your new home," my spouse said, tears streaming as they realized they would never see me again. Back in their lonely apartment, they opened the letter with trembling hands. The letter read, "25 years, and I once believed I couldn't be the partner you needed. Clearly what you needed was a circus, not a partner. Your antics have shown me that you wanted more. Congratulations on finding it outside our marriage. Those 2 weeks you pretended to be the loving partner again should have known it was just the calm before the storm, a prelude to your grand betrayal. I was planning a special night for us while you were out with someone else. You didn't just break us, you obliterated us. I've done us both a favor and disappeared. Don't try to find me. I'm starting over in a place where your face and our child's don't exist. Consider our home another casualty of your selfishness. I sold it, and maybe the new owners can rid it of the stench of betrayal. You want closure? Consider this letter it. Here's to your new beginnings. May they be as fleeting as your loyalty. Farewell, from the person who once loved you. They thought they had no tears left, but after reading the note, they cried all night, hugging their knees tightly. The thrill and memories of the wonderful times with the man faded, overtaken by regret and sorrow. At 48 and alone, they realized their days ahead without me looked bleak. They had traded their life of comfort and love for a moment of reckless pleasure. I confronted the other person late one night, just before he was about to leave for Ecuador. When the door opened, I stormed in, revealing I was the partner of the person he had been with. He tried to justify his actions, claiming he believed my spouse was okay with it and wouldn't have pursued them otherwise. I wasn't interested in his excuses. Months of pent-up anger and pain exploded. The encounter was brief. I used a crowbar, and within seconds, his life was drastically changed. Before leaving for the airport, I left him with a warning about the dangers of getting involved with a married person. By the time he got to the emergency room and reported the assault, I was already settling into my beachfront apartment in Ecuador. Detectives learned 2 weeks later that I had left the country and realized they couldn't pursue me unless I returned. Even if they located me, Ecuador doesn't extradite for assault charges. He endured a painful recovery with weeks in the hospital and months of physical therapy. The 20 stitches across his face would always remind him of that night. Unsure of his future, he knew his old life was over because of the 2 women who persuaded him to steal another person's spouse. He never contacted my spouse or child again.